I request a duel to the death.
If you lose, your wife will suffer dire consequences.
One of us has lied. Let us let God decide.
I think we found it an entirely different process this time, which was really interesting for us. And I think one of the things that had kept us from writing for so many years was the way we wrote back in the 90s when we were 22 and 20 years old was really inefficient. We really understood the characters, but we didn't understand structure. We kind of had read a lot of screenplays, but we hadn't really, that was kind of how we knew structure. And we'd seen a lot of movies. So we ended up taking these characters and putting them in these vastly different scenarios and trying to then kind of jam them together into something that looked like a movie. And so we ended up writing thousands of pages that we never used. And there are all kinds of scenes with the characters from Good Will Hunting doing all kinds of different things that just wouldn't make any sense in the movie that eventually came out. So I think we both kind of looked at it as something that was so inefficient that we would never really have the time to do it again because we were working so much and had busy lives. And so when we started doing this, I think we were both pretty surprised at how quickly it went. As Ridley said, it was like 6 weeks or something. It was very, very quick.
I wasn't surprised. I had written myself in the interim, and I understood that you had to make an outline. That was something of a shock to Matt. And no.
I also had written in the interim, and it had been terribly efficient, but I was afraid with this albatross,
you'd be
this millstone around my neck.
You do not believe me.
I am risking my life for you.
You are risking my life so you can save your pride.
Yes, I do consider myself a feminist. And I think this movie principally was really exciting to me because of the character of Marguerite, her extraordinary strength, bravery, and it seemed very obvious once I read the book what an unbelievably important and powerful story it was in purely classical storytelling terms, to have somebody who's been done a great injustice and who goes to great lengths to seek justice at great risk to themselves. And also, it was a true story and one that people didn't know. This is this incredible woman from history who, is an early known recorded person who spoke out against a powerful man who assaulted her, and naturally that seemed relevant and also incredibly thrilling and a story that could generate a lot of catharsis and empathy, and one that I hoped would develop in the viewer a sense of compassion, and we hoped the idea that we might look at one another in a different way and with more empathy.
Yeah, the basic idea was that Ben and I did the male sections, the first two act, and Nicole did the third act, which is primarily Jodie's story. Although Jodie obviously enters into both of our stories, the idea was that in the male stories, the women are kind of manifested when the men need them for something. They're other than that, they're ignored or they're property. Yeah, because they're not human beings. They're property, and they're kind of seen as that. And so that was. But we had to talk to each other about, because there are things obviously that happen in the third act that are set up in the first act. So there was a lot of discussion about what the architecture was going to be. But then we kind of split up and did drafts, and then came together and then just put it together and worked on it all together from there on out.